Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in as we get into Bigfoot down in Alabama tonight. Chris Lee, author and researcher, is here with us. We're going to have a great time with him. You're really going to enjoy this one, guys. I promise you. Let's get right in to our good roll call. Let us say hello to Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a silver. Race Fan with a bronze medal tonight. And let's continue on with our roll call. We say hello to Robert Lamoth, Necessary Dialogue. Kitty Caddywhack, Necessary Dialogue again, because I just wanted to say it twice. Lisa Smith, how are you tonight? Nice to see you. Road Flare, good to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. Fat Nuts is here. Look at him, still gloating over the World Series win. Millennium, my man, good to have you here. Millennium will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Eternity Eternal, Luscious Jewels, nice to see you both. Creepy Pasta, how are you guys? Frankie B, nice to see you. And Noble Patrick, thanks for coming on in. Flat Six and the Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Lil Cam on YouTube. Yep, he deadlifted 800 pounds 27 times in just 4 minutes to warm up for tonight's show. It's jacked for tonight. J. True Seeker, nice to see you. Delilah, nice to have you here. Noble Patrick and Ann B, thanks for coming on in. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you cannot talk Sasquatch without being nice and lubed. So thank you, Mel, for the lube. We appreciate it. Great to have you here. Scrolling on down, let's say hello next to Undead Jed and Julie Rios. Noble Patrick, once again. And Deborah Rooney, 2 nights in a row. Look at that. Look how lucky we are. Deborah Rooney is here. That makes me happy. Very happy. Scrolling on down, we next say hello to Algaray over on Twitch. Did 475 pounds on the incline press 47 times. Yeah, he's pumped for tonight. Loves the Bigfoot talk. Walter, how you doing, buddy? Nice to have you here. Shelly Heaton, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call here. And who's next? Well, it's Jerence Carter, Operation Shutdown. Nice to have you both here. Political Foolishness is here. Political Foolishness will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. Okay, no political talk for Political Foolishness. He will not sign if you get into politics. Integrationing, how are you? Welcome back for your second time in our chat room. Ryan C., welcome to SOR chat. As we continue on with our roll call, 11. How are you? Nice to have you here. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're getting into Sasquatch tonight. Author, researcher Chris Lee is going to talk about Bigfoot and Bama. We're going to have a great time with him. We are in roll call on our YouTube side right now as we say hello to sweet Donna C. Nice to see you. Candace, nice to have you back. Benno, nice to see you. Digger Dog, always a pleasure. Jorgensen with a soft J, nice to have you here. And we are caught up. Hey, we want to remind everybody the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. If you're new here, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and leave a comment after the show. Give us a thumbs up as well. It helps with the algorithms. I'll get into that in hour 3. Who else is here? Aussie Boss Tiger, how are you? Our store is open on our website 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to get into Bigfoot tonight down in the beautiful state of Alabama. Chris Lee is here to talk about it all, his knowledge, research, the books he's written, and the stories that he's been told. It's going to be a great show indeed. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here for another spooky story. We're going to follow that up with the Q&A with Lee Strauss. So let's get right to it tonight. This is going to be a lot of fun. Chris Lee is an accomplished author and researcher specializing in Bigfoot and other North American cryptids. Based in West Alabama, where he has lived for more than 30 years, Chris combines his background in education and counseling with a deep passion for the unexplained. He holds an undergraduate degree in secondary education and a master's in community counseling from the University of Alabama. I guess he roll tides all the time. Roll tide? Is that what it is? Roll tide? Well, we'll figure that one out. You know what? Let me just interrupt here for a second. Canadian colleges and universities do not have those type of traditions that they do in the United States. So college football time or basketball time, I love it because you get all these really cool traditions and nicknames and everything. It's a beautiful thing you have going on down there, America. You really do. Let's continue on here because, otherwise I'll end up talking sports all night long. All right. Chris is bringing a thoughtful, human-centered perspective to his investors. His books, his field research explore the mysterious intersections of folklore, eyewitness accounts, and enduring questions of what really walks in the forests of the South. If you want to find his books, you can go on Amazon. Chris Lee, it is great to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Did I get it right with Roll Tide?
You sure did. That's what we say. Roll Tide, roll.
Now, what does that mean for those of us who don't know?
Sure. Well, it's the Alabama Crimson Tide, and that's our cheer, man.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
You know what? I got to tell, before we get started, I got to tell you a Bigfoot story that I heard this afternoon. because I know you love a good Bigfoot story.
I do.
Okay. So a good friend of mine, Jim, his son and my son play hockey together. And just a great guy, a humble guy. And in my area where I live in central British Columbia, we are surrounded by millions of acres of forest. And of course, there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings up here.
Sure.
And Jim is a logger. He's a logging truck driver. And so every day he starts work he gets up at about 2:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Yeah. And he drives his rig into the logging areas. And at the end of the day, he'll park his truck there, leave his truck so that way the crew can get it loaded for him in the morning. He then takes the logs out to the lumber mills and then drives back, picks up another load, so on and so forth. Here's the problem. A couple weeks ago, Jim was it's 3:00 in the afternoon, parks his truck at the logging site.
Yeah.
And then takes off, goes home, gets back to work about 3:00 in the morning. Yeah. And what they do before they drive, they have to do a full inspection on the vehicle. Mm-hmm. And as he's doing his inspection, he notices a giant handprint on his truck. Sure. Now, he says when he left that day at 3:00, he left with the rest of the crew because now we're into the season where it starts getting dark at around 3:00, 4:00. And as we get to the solstice, the sun will be setting probably around 3:45. That's how north I am.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dave, God is my witness. This handprint was not there. It is much larger than a human handprint. And I'm going to put this up on my social media for everybody to take a look at this. Jim has given me full permission to use this photo. Okay. But that handprint is massive. Those fingers are long and it is very wide. What do you think of this handprint, Chris?
I would recommend that he put up a trail cam, maybe 2 or 3 of them in the area if he can, because obviously there is something going on over there. Appears to be much bigger than a human's, he said.
Yeah. So on the photo for our radio audience, I'm going to explain. There's like a white sticker on this piece of metal on the truck.
Yeah.
Now that white sticker is about the size of a cell phone. If you take an Apple iPhone or a Google phone and you lay it horizontally, that's about the size of the sticker. This handprint goes right over top of that sticker. And you can see by the length of it that those fingers are at least 4 to 5 inches long.
Yeah. Interesting. I would look for other evidence. If this happens again, I think it would be worth. Now, did he find this? Did you say at night or was it during the day? He found
it at 3:00 in the morning when he was doing his pre-work inspection on his semi truck.
Okay, well, I'm sure he probably had a flashlight close by. I think it would be worth a look around the truck just to see if there was any footprints, see if there's any other evidence. That handprint was put there for a reason. I mean, something did it.
Right.
But, when you're approaching something like this, and I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade. I don't mean to doubt the story, but you have to look at all logical possibilities. Okay.
Absolutely.
Are his coworkers apt to maybe playing a joke on him?
No. This is one thing. This is one thing about the forest camps.
Yeah.
Okay. There isn't, because they are dealing with a lot of danger in dangerous areas. When they get to the job site, it's like the military. I mean, you can joke and play away from the work site, but when you're at the work site, it is time to work. It is time to get going because we're getting into that season where it's cold. The days are short. You have to get done what you can get done throughout that day to get home safe. And the danger of logging is extremely high.
Okay. Okay. So you've convinced me this is not a hoax by one of his coworkers messing with him. So we can eliminate that. So I would say the next thing would be, I think it'd be worth a look next few nights to go out there with a flashlight and very carefully take a look around. And honestly, Dave, I would tell your friend to be on his toes.
Oh yeah. And I got to talk to him. I got to find out what area this was and see if we can sneak in there, because
Sure.
a lot of these logging areas, they get taped off at night.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, even at times for the bigger crews, it's not so much around here because they don't get a lot of gear stolen, but this isn't the first time I've heard of logging crews having interactions with Sasquatch.
Oh, sure.
The last one I heard was in my area was in 2018, where this logging crew had shut down for the day. They went home. They went back the next morning at about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they found a bunch of tracks around their gear. And one of their giant, they use that giant equipment. They're not using a little bulldozer or something that you would see, the city use. They're using giant equipment. And one of the pieces of giant logging equipment had a giant dent in the side of it, because there was about a 300-pound boulder sitting on the ground right at it that was not there the day before. There was footprints all around it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And there were footprints all around it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now, I never was able to get out to that area, unfortunately. But I tell you, when the loggers speak of weird things going on,
yeah,
it's a true blue story, in my opinion, up here.
I believe it too. The footprints, do you know how big they were? I have to ask.
Back then, I think he measured them at about 18 inches.
That sounds about right.
That's a big boy, man.
Yes. Yeah. Sounds like you got something going on up there. I think it would be, it'd be worth it to put up some trail cams if they can.
Well, if we can find some trees in that area, because they'll clear cut it.
Well, mount them on something.
Yeah, we'll have to try.
On the truck.
I'll contact him. I'll keep you in touch with that. I will.
Sure. I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, let's learn a little bit more about you, Chris. How did you fall in love, an educated man such as yourself?
Sure.
How did you fall in love with Bigfoot?
Well, it started when I was just a little kid. My parents and I went out to the mall, and there happened to be an art show out there. Now, this is the late 70s, when the Frank Frechetta art, fantasy art was very popular. So these were all local artists, and they were, just showing off their artwork. And there was one of this big giant creature, and this lady was several feet away from it, trying to protect a small animal, and all she had to defend herself and the animal was a little knife, and that's it. And this was fantasy art. And I'm looking at this big, giant, scary ape-like thing, and I asked my dad, what is that? And he said, well, that's Bigfoot. And I think a friend of my dad's just happened to walk up, and he was messing with me a little bit, and I said, what's Bigfoot? And the guy said, oh, it's this scary big creature that lives out in the woods. And of course, I got nervous, because when you're a little kid, you believe everything that people tell you, and especially an adult. And as I was starting to kind of get uptight, Dad was like, no, it's just a legend, just a myth. It's not real. Honestly, Dave, we were getting ready to go on a father-son camp out, and I think he was afraid I was going to back out of it, and I was just about to. But anyway, that was my first exposure to Bigfoot, and I really didn't think about it after that. And then a couple of years later, I'm in the 5th grade, and we were going to the library, our school library, and we had this wonderful school librarian named Mrs. Malone. She was just absolutely wonderful. In my most recent book, I've named the librarian Mrs. Malone after her. But what we would do is hear a story, and then we could walk through the stacks and pick out a book and then check it out and take it home with us. And it was a little tradition that after we had all picked out our books and figured out what we wanted, we'd go around the room and show everyone what we got. Well, I picked out a book by Ian Thorne called Bigfoot, and they're a little hard to find now. They're out of print, but it was a really cool book. I read over it a little bit. So when we got around the room and it got to me, and I showed everyone the book that I picked out, the whole room erupted in laughter that I would pick a book on such a silly subject. But it was a very good book. I enjoyed it. Really, I feel like the joke was on them. They missed out on a very good book. But, that was kind of the attitude there in the late 70s, early 80s. Bigfoot's not real. It's just, and of course, the Patterson-Gimlin, the clip was out there, but people really didn't know what to think of it. And so I just, I really didn't think any more about Bigfoot too much through the 80s. Of course, I saw Harry and the Hendersons. Me and my family loved it. And up in North Carolina, where I grew up, now originally the family's from Alabama, but in 82, when I was about 12, we moved to North Carolina. And I love living in North Carolina. That place really has a real mystique to it, especially in the mountains. And I would talk to people who had lived in the mountains. And of course, I'd ask, this Bigfoot legend would come up from time to time. And the locals that I talked to and the people from the mountains that I knew in Charlotte, they all pretty much said the same thing. No, we never saw any big footprints. We never saw any evidence of Bigfoot. Anytime there was a Bigfoot story in the area, it typically turned out to be a mountain man dressed in bearskin who wanted to be left alone, a hermit. But, they weren't causing trouble. They just wanted to be left alone. So that sounded like the most logical, plausible answer to a lot of people that it was a human being, or sometimes it's a diseased bear, because, when a bear has mange and it's lost all its fur, it can look eerily almost human-like. Okay. So I didn't give much thought to Bigfoot after that. That kind of burst my bubble, because I wanted to believe that there was still something out there that we haven't yet discovered. I think that's why so many people are fascinated by Bigfoot and the Bigfoot legend and X creatures in general. With all of our knowledge and everything we know or believe that we know about the world, I think a lot of us want to believe that there is still something out there that we haven't completely discovered. Okay. So in summer of 1993, we had moved back to Alabama. I'm a student at the University of Alabama. And when you come to Tuscaloosa in the summer, these days, there's all kinds of fun stuff to do. Even though most of the students are home, there's all kinds of neat things to do. But in the summer of 1993, Tuscaloosa, there wasn't a whole lot going on, not much to do. And I had a full-time summer job with the university. I wasn't taking classes. I was saving up money for the fall. And, I'd do my 40-hour-a-week job, but in the evenings, there wasn't much to do. And I was living in a house next to the stadium, football stadium, with a bunch of other guys that had been built like 70 years ago and had no central air. And let me tell you, summertime in Alabama, even at night, it can get real uncomfortable if you don't have air. So after I was off of work and I'd have my dinner, I had to go somewhere. I couldn't take it sometimes. So I go over to the library. And, it was air conditioned. It was comfortable in there. And I decided, okay, I'm going to get a good book. This is before computers and internet. Couldn't sit down at a computer station and surf. So I'm looking through the new books, and I came across this book called Big Footprints by Grover Krantz. And I had not thought about Bigfoot much in a while, but when I sat down and read that book cover to cover, it made a believer out of me. He went into such detail about the footprints, and of course, he analyzed prints that were fake versus footprints that were believed to be real. He has a really good chapter on the Patterson-Gimlin film. And again, I had not thought about Bigfoot in a while, but it made a believer out of me. I started thinking, well, good grief, maybe there is something out there. So, but still, I didn't discuss it that much with people. Still, even at that time, most people didn't really take that seriously just yet. And things would change eventually. But I remember one time in one of my counseling classes, I brought up the Bigfoot phenomenon, and my classmates kind of gave me that look, like, Chris, I don't know if you want to go there. But then later into the late 90s, when you started seeing all these history documentaries on the History Channel, and I think it became more and more widespread that, maybe there could be a North American ape out there. It's just what's holding everybody up is, okay, if there's an 8-foot tall beast out there, ape-like creature, that's the male, and the females can get about 7 feet, maybe taller. And there'd have to be a breeding population. Why haven't we found them? Well, that's a very good question, but and that's a good way to explain it away. But we've got the footprints, we got the Skookum cast, we've got the Patterson-Gimlin film. So we still have all of this evidence, that's just the mysterious thing about this legend. We've got handprints on trucks, all kinds of interesting evidence out there, but we still can't prove definitively that it's real.
Let me hold you right there, as we got about a minute to go here before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Chris Lee is our guest tonight. Why do you think, after so much time, so much evidence, we still have that knock against the Bigfoot that it's real?
Sure. Because we have to find a live creature. That's the last stage of discovery when you are when you're trying to prove that a new creature exists. There's 5 stages. Grover Krantz listed them in his book, and I apologize, I didn't memorize them, but he pointed out we really can't get past stage 1. Now, he wrote that book in the early 90s. We know a lot more about it since then. That book is a really good snapshot of what we knew about the creature then. We have to find one, we have to find I don't want anyone to try to shoot one. We can talk about that a little later. There's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't want somebody to do that. We need to find the live creature. A lot of people are saying, you're going to have to show me a real one before I'll believe it. I used to say that. I don't necessarily feel that way anymore.
Hold that thought. Chris Lee, author, researcher out of the beautiful state of Alabama. We're going to talk some Bigfoot. You can find Chris's books on Bigfoot and more on Amazon. This is Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back with the second half hour. All right, we're clear, buddy. Good start.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, it is. It is. That was a good start with the handprint.
You like that, eh?
Absolutely. There's something going on up there.
Oh, my friend, I have a couple of places up here that are pretty interesting,
Sure.
but I'm always looking for more.
Absolutely.
Always looking for more. B. Arthur is running to the store, everybody. Who needs anything? B, can you grab me a bottle of Pepsi if you don't mind? I'd appreciate it. Yeah, don't run. That's a good idea. Don't run. You don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to pull a groin or blow out a hip.
I've had hernia surgery. I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
Ugh. Well, I worked my way through undergrad and graduate school lifting furniture, and I paid for it.
B. Mora, how are you? Pilgrim, thanks for coming on in. Chaz Mataz, nice to have you here. How about a cream soda? Can you get me a cream soda? I know you live in Idaho, but I will take a cream soda. Thank you, Beth. I would accept that Pepsi if you could throw one to me. Make sure that you tape some Taco Bell to it. Do you ever go investigating on your own, Chris?
Not yet. Around here, I had not heard a lot of Bigfoot stories until I published those books, and then started doing radio and telling my friends about it. And then lo and behold, people started coming to me saying, "Well, I've got something to tell you." And apparently there are sightings around here I'm going to have to look into. So in the state of Alabama.
How far away are you from the forest?
Oh, goodness. Here in West Alabama, well, I live in Tuscaloosa, but no, not far. You know, my parents live in a very wooded area outside of Birmingham. We haven't had any sightings, but, you know, I have begun to hear stories in the central Alabama area of things that can't completely be explained. I'll look into it.
Have you met researcher Kunbo?
I have not.
Oh, you got to talk to him.
All right.
All right.
I'd love to meet him.
Let me just... I can get you his number.
Sounds good. I'd like to talk to him.
Let me just see something here first. Yeah, Tim Kunbo Baker.
All right.
Yeah, I met him at Nebraska Bigfoot Conference last year.
Mm-hmm.
Guy's amazing. And he lives, I think he lives near Huntsville.
Okay. Not far away.
Yeah, well, he used to work for NASA a long time ago.
Sure. Now, North Alabama is going to be a lot more mountainous and a lot more forests, you know, as compared to central Alabama. A lot of forests around here, but it's going to be more mountainous.
Yeah.
Up that way as get up closer to Tennessee.
All right, my friend, we have about 45 seconds.
I'm ready.
Thank you tonight so far to Noble Patrick and Cat Chaser for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And of course, You can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. And head on over to cariboucon.com. Cariboucon.com. Make sure you go get your VIP tickets. They are only on sale for a couple of months here. We only have 50 of them. Well, 49 left. One got bought. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. I love talking Bigfoot, and I know you guys like hearing it. So let's continue the conversation with Chris Lee momentarily from now. It is that time where I always remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you want to check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Chris Lee, author, researcher of Bigfoot down in Alabama, is here, and we're going to get into it. You wanted to talk about the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yes.
You know, because it was 50 or what was it? 57, 58 years ago that the video came out. And
Sure.
then recently it was just that anniversary. And just recently it was the anniversary of that video becoming public on national news.
Sure.
Your thoughts of it all. Do you believe that's a Bigfoot, or do you think that is somebody in a Halloween costume?
Good question. 100% believe it's a Bigfoot, and I will tell you why. I didn't always think that. And in the Bigfoot book that I checked out as a kid, there was a very grainy black and white photo from the film. I tried to show it to my friends. They said, no, that's not anything. That's somebody in a suit. It has to be. But as the digital analyzing techniques have become more sophisticated, and I believe at the start of your show, we did see a clip of that. That was a good example of it. More and more, I'm beginning, I really believe that is a real creature. Now, many duplicates have been made, and the last time I read up on it, I believe the original film is currently misplaced. I like to think it's just maybe tucked away somewhere safe and somebody knows where it is. I hope it has not been destroyed for some reason. I hope it's located at some point. But once you begin duplicating a video or a film, old film like that, it's going to lose definition with each generation. But earlier generations of that original film have been analyzed, and I think I like what the late Jeff Meldrum pointed out about it. You can see the deltoid, the erector spine down the back, the shoulder blades moving under the skin, the quads contract like they're supposed to. I believe he was 100% accurate about it. And you would think as digital analysis techniques become more sophisticated, we would be able to disprove the film if it really was someone in a suit. Okay. But that's not the case. If anything, these digital analyzing techniques seem to be furthering the discussion and giving more validity to the video. So at this point, you know, just based on current evidence, I believe the film's authentic. I think it is I believe it is a Sasquatch. I believe it is a female Sasquatch. And the thing about that creature, it is consistent with other descriptions of Bigfoot that have been floating around for years. So,
Well, the thing that convinced me that it was real was the breasts.
yes.
The breast, and I think what happens, and I've said this numerous times on the show, so I'm probably repeating myself to a lot of listeners. We look at that video in a 2025 manner.
Yes.
We do not look at that video at the state of the United States in 1967,
Yes.
where things were extremely conservative. They were still measuring women's bathing suits at the beaches, to make sure they weren't more than an inch above the knee.
Yes.
It was a very, very cultured society that hadn't exploded yet into free love, free sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And when you look at it, say, even from a 1980s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, even 2020s perspective, I can see where a lot of people look at it and say, oh, that's so fake. It was so done up. But 1967, these guys are not going to take the time to sew a pair of breasts on this as a joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard people try and say, well, the costume was too big, therefore it was left over that was pushed to the front, makes it look like breasts. That is the lamest excuse I have ever heard. You can see how the breasts are shaped. Not that I'm an expert on boobs, or anything like that, but the breasts to me are the $1 million answer to $1 million question.
Yes. Adding the female anatomy to a fake costume is just one other detail that could be scrutinized and disproved. So I agree with you. Grover Krantz agreed with you when he wrote his book. That I think that would, I don't think it would be realistic to think that if that really was a suit, that they would go to the trouble of adding one more detail that could be disproved. They would have shown a male Sasquatch.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. And if they were playing a joke on that, they probably would have done a male Sasquatch with a very large appendage, if we could put it politely that way. They probably would have. That's why I haven't heard a good argument from a skeptic on this video just yet. And if you try and find, and I want to get your opinion on this, but if you try and find anybody who has tried to mimic that walk, it looks completely fake.
Yes.
There's no leg muscles. There's no shoulder movement. People sway their arms like they're singing in the rain, dancing. Your thoughts?
People have tried to mimic that video with an actual suit, and they can't do it. It cannot be done. You see muscles flexing. Another good point about that video, with all of the detail that you see in the anatomy of that creature, the best Hollywood had to offer at the time was Planet of the Apes, okay, which was a very good movie, but that was the height of the costume technology at the time. And of course, there was the King Kong versus Godzilla movie that was made at the time. And yeah, cool movie for its day. I still like to watch it every now and then. I love the old horror movies, but still, it doesn't approach what we're seeing in that video, and it's not just the anatomy that we see in that video when we analyze it, it's the behavior of that creature. Interesting that it just, it handled the situation, I believe, very intelligently. I believe Bigfoot, Sasquatches are very intelligent, and I think they have figured out they need to stay away from us. Okay. So, and I think we see an evident example of that with the video. You know, Patty, as the creature is called after Patterson, she just casually gets up and walks away. You know, and that's really good strategy when you see a potential predator. You know, don't do anything to alarm it. Don't just get up and run because it's probably going to come after you. Just get up and walk away, like seeing a lion in the jungle. Just keep walking. But she got up. She glanced behind her to make sure she wasn't being followed, and she just casually walked away and disappeared.
There was no panic in her. No. Animals panic.
Yeah.
Okay. People panic.
Yes.
She didn't panic at all.
She did not. And it does make you wonder if she was looking after other creatures in the area. That's been speculated. But I believe the creature handled it very intelligently. Just get up and move. If it was someone in a suit, they were taking their life in their own hands because, you know, Gimlin was standing there with a rifle.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. You know, I mean, even during the filming in the Pacific Northwest of Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
They had to forewarn the person who played Chewbacca not to go wandering off in the forest because hunters were there and they may want to shoot a Sasquatch.
Yes.
Like he wasn't allowed to wander around off the set in his costume. He couldn't do it.
And I'm glad they warned him of that. To anyone out there that wants to try to prove the existence of Bigfoot by taking a shot at it and bringing in the dead carcass, I would caution them not to do that. I would ask that they not do that for one reason. You might be shooting a human being in a suit. It might be somebody in a suit playing a joke, okay? The other reason is, let's assume it is a real Sasquatch. I don't believe they are out there alone. I think they are communal animals. And if the story from Ape Canyon is true, and I'm going to take it at face value that it is, there's others out there, and they're going to be mad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What do you think Bigfoot is?
Well, Grover Krantz had a very good point about that. Might be a relic population of Gigantopithecus. But the problem is we don't know a whole lot about Gigantopithecus. We do have mandibles and the parts of the jaw that tell us a little bit, tell us there was a large ape at one point. We have not found those fossils in America. They've been found in Asia. I think 4 of them have been found. We also need more of the jaw to tell us whether or not it was a bipedal creature or quadrupedal. We don't know that. Possibility. So it would tell us how the skull and the jawbone sat on the spine. But I think that's the best the best theory I've heard so far. I haven't heard a better one. So
I'm still unsure.
Sure.
Because I believe this creature has the ability to do some very special things.
Yes.
And just vanish. Do I believe it's flesh and blood? Yes. But I also believe it has a supernatural ability to do things that just defy physics and science. And look, I live in the wilderness, man, where
Sure.
I know that animal camouflage changes throughout the seasons,
Sure.
and they are the perfect hunters and gatherers. Doesn't matter whether you're looking for a grouse or a ptarmigan, or you're looking for a mountain lion or a Sasquatch. They know how to camouflage themselves, and use their natural ability to hide
Yes.
in case of danger. And that's not humans. That's wolves, that's mountain lions, that's moose, that's deer. It's whatever. You know, my area is surrounded by wolves. You never see one. You know they're there.
Yes.
But you never see one.
Sure.
And I agree with that, but I've had a couple of instances personally, Chris, that have really distinguished my ability to say there's more to this than just a flesh and blood creature that's moping around the forest trying to figure out what it's going to do the next day.
Sure. There are theories or there are questions about how they are able to get away so quickly. Patterson-Gimlin film, that creature just disappeared completely out of sight. No, the footprints were left, but that's all that was left. I think what people are really wondering about is you see the footprints and then they stop. And you wonder, why did the footprints stop? Where did it go? Now, again, when you're thinking about it from a research perspective, you have to consider all possibilities. And of course, I'm not trying to, disprove anyone else's theory about the supernatural aspect. But I think a lot of times when the footprints just completely stop, then it's because they've realized I'm walking in mud. This is dangerous. I'm going to slip and I better change my direction and get on solid ground. That humans do that. When you're walking through the mud, it can get slippery. And if you don't try to get out of the mud as quick as you can, you're probably going to slip. And
I think there's some of that, but I will put you to the test here. You give an example in my area and a lot of areas around North America when it snows.
Yes.
You can follow prints everywhere, and yet the prints just vanish.
And it does make you wonder.
That's what I'm saying, but that's part of the argument. And and I know a lot of people get really passionate about this and they get angry and they let their emotions come out. But to me, that's one of the fun parts. Why can't it be both? Why does it have to be one and not the other? Why can't it be both and just have some fun that we have this amazing creature that's out there that wants to be left alone, the world's hide and seek champion. And yet here we are, screaming on social media. It's flesh and blood. It's interdimensional. The Sasquatch are people too and need voting rights. Yeah. I think it's hilarious sometimes.
Yes. I think it's okay to have different opinions about it and try to explore what we know about it and to speculate, okay, why is it happening that way? What is the evidence telling us? Until we can locate the breeding population and study them, it's all open to speculation. I think a lot of it is they come out at night. I think they are basically a nocturnal creature. That's why I named my book The Night People. That's really where that came from. I believe it's the Atachi tribe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But there is a Native American tribe that calls them the Night People. And when I heard that, I was thinking, okay, I found the title of my book, because the novel was about finished. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for a title. And when I heard that, I said, oh, perfect. So, I went with it, but I think they're a nocturnal creature, and I think they keep to themselves. I think they are communal. And if there was another story that I'd heard about a miner there in British Columbia, I believe it was in the 1920s, 1924.
Albert Ostman.
Yes, that's the one. Let's take it at face value. He was telling the truth, because I think he was. What I find fascinating about that story is they were a family group and they communicated with each other somehow. So, and he could see different emotions, the way they were reacting to it. I think the female Bigfoot didn't like him being there, but of course the father brought him home. And from what I recall about the story, they didn't necessarily want him to leave. And I think he gave, he was resourceful. He gave the father a big pouch of tobacco, and the father didn't know what it was and swallowed it, got sick, and then he made a break for it. But interesting thing about that story, he didn't tell it for years. And
I know the area where that happened.
Really?
I do. I've never been there. You got to take a boat up there. And if you know me, I'm allergic to boats. Scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I would love to go up and try and find that spot. And I'm really surprised that over the years, there hasn't been a documentary series to try and figure out where that happened.
Sure.
Because that area is so remote. There's no people there.
No.
This creature can walk freely, much like, if it was a human and you wanted to walk freely naked around the forest, you could do that there because there isn't a soul that's going to see you.
Yes.
So I could totally see that happening with the Sasquatch just being out there doing its thing.
Sure. I think there's definitely opportunity there for a documentary and to examine that area. I would say don't go alone.
Oh, no.
No.
And, I don't care what anybody says. In the British Columbia wilderness, you always go, unless you're near the Vancouver area, like Harrison Hot Springs, which is famous for Sasquatch sightings. Unless you're in that area, don't go into the forest unarmed. Bring your pointy stick.
Sure.
Because you don't need to worry about the Sasquatch. You need to worry about everything else that's out there.
Absolutely. I haven't been there, but I've heard the stories. And yeah, it just makes sense. You have to be ready to defend yourself.
Very true. It is very, very true. We got about 90 seconds to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Chris Lee, author and researcher of Sasquatch Down in Alabama. And when we return from the break, we're going to get into some of those Alabama stories. Chris, why do you love this subject? What does it for you?
I want to believe there is something out there we haven't discovered. And with all of this evidence that we have with the footprints and the mainly it's the anecdotal evidence that we have over the last several hundred years, from Native Americans, from explorers to the present day. They're seeing something. Something is out there. I find it exciting.
Your entire perspective changes on this creature the second you find a footprint.
Sure.
I remember my buddy Mark, longtime hunter, longtime hunting guide, animal tracker, everything, did not believe in Sasquatch until I showed him a footprint at a spot in the forest. He kneeled down beside that print for about 20 minutes and just said, I don't believe this. I cannot believe that. Like, what is this? I don't believe this. Like, this should not be here. This should not exist. I mean, this is a guy who could track anything.
Yeah.
Okay. And to watch him have that emotional reaction, that dumbfounded reaction to it, it was absolutely amazing. Chris, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We love talking Sasquatch, Bigfoot on this show, and we're going to continue it in hour number 2. We're going to find out from Chris about some cool stories of Sasquatch in Alabama. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right. We'll be right back from the break, guys. Give us a couple minutes. Hope you're enjoying it. And oh, it looks like we have a comedian in the room. We have a comedian. See if you can find out who it is. Yeah, this is like Bob Saget, not funny. Ray Romano, not funny. I love those type of comedians. We'll be right back. I am back. It is snowing beautifully outside SOR headquarters right now. Got about 1.5 inches of snow outside. Warm, near freezing temperatures. It's perfect. Hey, there's number 44 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. There he is. All right. Chris, you having fun? Hold on, let me unmute you here. There you go.
This is a lot of fun.
Appreciate that, man. I'm glad to hear that. Mudens Mongol, how you doing? My dad's farm was near Vegreville, Susan. All right. Oob to Joe's Maine. You've got big feats. All right. Thank you tonight so far to Shelley, Deborah Rooney, Noble Patrick, Cat Chaser, Vaughn Patrick, and Candace for the super chats. If you're new, please hit subscribe, ring that bell. Give us a thumbs up as well, as it's helping with the algorithms. And shop at our store on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We're so happy to have you along for the ride tonight as we talk Sasquatch with author Chris Lee. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Eldritch. Eldritch is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Author, researcher Chris Lee lives in the beautiful state of Alabama. He's definitely Roll Tide, and he's all in when it comes to learning about the big mugwump that is in the forests around North America. You can find his books on Amazon. Chris, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Sure. It's good to be here.
Tell us about the Sasquatch in Alabama.
Well, here's the interesting thing about Sasquatch in Alabama. As I was looking into that, you would think that if there were any sightings, they would be concentrated in North Alabama, up in that area, because it is hilly, mountainous, and a lot of forests, a lot of dense forests. And yes, there have been sightings up that way, but also down in South Alabama as well, which I found very surprising, towards the coast. So, that is fascinating, something to think about, but maybe not that surprising, because you have a lot of sightings down in Florida, the skunk ape. So maybe it's not surprising that even all the way down into Florida, you're going to have people possibly seeing things. But since you'd asked about an Alabama Bigfoot story, I'm going to go ahead and tell you one that happened actually within our family. And this is not something that I have told a lot of people about, but I had some relatives who used to own a tree farm. They don't have it anymore, but we used to go down there a lot, and it was a beautiful place. It was very dense forests. And when they first acquired the place, I said, well, have there been any Bigfoot sightings? They laughed and said, oh, no, that's not possible. No. So they owned it for a few years, and we had a lot of fun there. But then one night, one of my elder relatives, who is very, very level-headed, very practical, he was standing out away from the house. And just to describe this place, the house was not near the road. It was deep into the property, and there were lights floodlights on the house, but when you turn them off, I mean, it was dark out there. I mean, just completely dark. When you get away from all the street lights and all the lights of any city, I mean, it was dark. And I noticed he was standing out away from the house watching something in the darkness. And it was odd because it would walk one way and then turn around and walk the other. And it was like it was pacing back and forth, but he couldn't see it. And then I figured it was probably a coyote. Okay, that would be the most logical thing. I mean, I didn't immediately go to Bigfoot. Of course not. You know, it must be a coyote or something like that, bobcat, because we did see those on the property all the time. And then I heard this relative yell out, "Identify yourself." And I got scared because we were miles away from anybody. Okay. There were not close relatives that, to think that someone else was on that property with us, that was scary. And so I stood there with the relative for a second and nothing happened. And I asked him what happened. And he said, "I saw eye shine out in that darkness. And just for a few seconds, something was looking at me, and it was a little taller than I was." Okay. So, now, not that this is why we left. We just happened to be leaving at that time, but that did hasten the exit. We packed everything up and we left. Now, looking back on it, if we had stayed, it would have been fascinating to go back out the next morning and see if any evidence was there. Okay. And again, you want to be practical. It could have been an owl. Owls have eye shine, but the speculation is Sasquatch have eye shine as well. Humans do not. So whatever eye shine he saw, it wasn't a human.
How high up was the eyes?
He said taller than him, and this relative is 6 feet tall.
It's a tiny one, but still intimidating nonetheless. Now, are there bears in the area?
No, we never saw any bears. This was kind of further south into South Alabama. Not that you wouldn't see a bear, but we don't see a lot of bears around here. Now, we are at the tail end of the Appalachian chain in Birmingham, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that a bear just following that mountain chain will end up here in Alabama, but it doesn't happen a lot.
Right. Right. It has to be intimidating for when you've never had an encounter with a creature that up close and personal to be all of a sudden, feel like you're the one being hunted as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say to anyone, if they believe they are in the presence of a Sasquatch, proceed with caution. Don't do anything to agitate it. There are a lot of reports that they are docile creatures for the most part. And then I've heard other stories that they're not. I think there are different reasons for that. I think they are intelligent creatures that have different personalities like human beings. Whereas the Patty Sasquatch in the video wasn't aggressive. She just wanted to be left alone. Okay. And so she left. But I think any of those animals, if they felt threatened or if they felt like you were threatening one of their own, you could be in trouble.
I would agree with you on that. And I also think that it comes down to territory. For instance, the ones here in the Pacific Northwest seem to be a lot more docile, with the exception of Ape Canyon, or you piss them off somehow.
Yes.
Okay. But if you go down into the bayous of Louisiana, or
Yes.
into the swamps of Florida, they seem to be a lot more smaller, a lot more compact, a lot more aggressive and angry. Have you noticed that in your research as well?
Yes, there could be a reason for that. And again, I'm not trying to disprove the Sasquatch legend here, but the thing about Florida, it is a very warm climate, possibly the warmest climate here in the United States. And for years, you had roadside attractions where somebody could see a chimpanzee or they could see some kind of ape, some kind of primate. And there are stories of them getting loose, or maybe the owner didn't want to mess with them anymore and turned them loose to fend for themselves. I hope those stories aren't true, but I have heard that. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that there could be a breeding population out there. I've heard that theory. I know that that's been a problem in Florida with other exotic pets, large boa constrictors that have gotten very big. Anytime you have a predatory, a non-indigenous predatory species introduced into a new environment, that's never good. It's not good for the animal, not good for the other animals in the ecosystem. But, a lot of the Bigfoot sightings might be escaped primates. I don't know. And they would act differently than what we believe Sasquatches, how they act. That's just one theory. I don't know.
Now, when you say other primates, are you saying maybe monkeys or gorillas that have escaped?
Possibly orangutans. I haven't heard of a gorilla escaping, but I've heard stories of orangutans, chimpanzees, monkeys getting loose, and they're gone. And a lot of places in Florida for them to hide. So
I've heard along the Texas Louisiana border that there could be actually tigers that have run into or escaped captivity or were purposely let go in order to go roam the forests. I mean, could you imagine if they had the ability to breed? I mean, you'd see an expanding tiger population there pretty quickly.
That is frightening. I hope there are laws out there that protect exotic pets, and I would encourage people to follow them. It's not good for the animal, and it's definitely not good for the people when the animals are able to get loose. They're smarter than people think.
Oh, very much so. And they adapt very easily to their environments. And a tiger can live anywhere, in a swamp or in a snowy mountainous area.
Yes. Yeah, they're very intelligent creatures.
Very true. Very true. Have you ever heard of Sasquatch attacking people?
I have heard stories of that. That's why I would say proceed with caution. Obviously there's the stories about Ape Canyon, but those, assuming, let's take it at face value that the story is true, those Sasquatches had a reason to be upset. Those guys had just killed one of their own, shot it, and and then got washed away. So, assuming that's true, yeah, I can see why the animals were furious. So, I think if you mentioned their territory, I think if you're encroaching into their territory, if you're making them feel threatened, sure, like any other creature, they're going to defend themselves.
I would agree with you there. And I couldn't understand what it would be like, or even wanting to be in an area where you've upset these creatures.
Yes. Yeah. I would say proceed with caution. But if I believe the creatures were in the area, my temptation would be my thought process would be to just leave them alone. I would put up trail cams. I would watch for footprints. I would have plaster ready. I always have a camera with me. I love photography. I've got a digital SLR. So I would take the pictures of the prints and any evidence that I found, but I would not try to agitate them in any way.
No, that just doesn't seem like a good idea.
No.
It's like seeing Mike Tyson out in at a shopping mall or a casino and upsetting him.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only doing that to your own danger.
Sure. You can say hello and keep going, but celebrities in general, they like their space. And I think the same can be said about Sasquatches.
Out of all the people you have interviewed on this subject, have you been able to, while you're putting pen to paper, figure out any patterns of what people are seeing and when?
I haven't had a chance to do a lot of interviews about it. I grew up with stories in North Carolina, people telling me about it. I do hope to get into more qualitative research about this subject at a later time. But what I have done is look at all of the anecdotal stories that we have throughout the last several hundred years, first with the Native Americans, the explorers, and then, of course, the people that live here. And what further gives credibility to this legend is all of the common traits that you tend to see over and over. The crest of the head of the skull, the large stature, the way they move, and of course the smell, the stench. That's always like a little precursor to the sighting. In many cases, when they're close by, you suddenly have that smell. Smells like rotten eggs and body odor and feces. And when you smell that, usually something's going on. It's like a little warning right there.
Very true. Very true. I mean, I always look at the way people react to being in this creature. Do you think that let me rephrase that.
Sure.
Many people believe you don't find Sasquatch, it allows you to see it.
Yeah.
What do you think of that theory?
There is a lot of sense to that theory. But I still think, basically, I think these are creatures that don't necessarily want to be found. But if you're encroaching on their territory or they are protecting something, I could see the bigger males getting a little aggressive and letting you know, hey, I'm here. Okay, back off. But I think for the most part, I think they try to avoid humans. I think a lot of the sightings, in many cases, you just happen to come upon one, just like Patterson-Gimlin.
You mentioned smell.
Yes.
Explain that smell to people who may not know.
Well, that's always a story or a trait that comes up in the stories that, and this is why another reason why I think they're very similar to humans, whatever they are. They have some kind of stench to them. Well, if a human being has lived out in the woods all its life and, of course, never bathed and never used deodorant, they're going to have a particular odor. And the creatures, a lot of times it has been reported that right before they saw the creature, there was this overpowering smell that was just absolutely just enough to knock you over. And that's another trait that people have mentioned over and over. And I had a little fun with that with my recent book, The Night I Survived Bigfoot, That's about 3 12-year-old boys that sneak out in the middle of the night to see if they can prove the Bigfoot legend. And I had a lot of fun writing that book. But yeah, that's a big part of it. You know, they smell the smell and they think it's one of them. One of the, you know, the boys started, you know, they start accusing each other, but that's not what it is. There's a creature in the area. So, you know, a little lesson there, you know, you go looking for something, you just might find it.
How does one know when they're in a Sasquatch area?
That's a good question. I don't recall a lot of eyewitness accounts in heavily populated areas. You typically don't hear that. They're typically, I think, in a very densely wooded area, out away from people. And I think they tend to keep to themselves. And I think if you have a campsite, you go hiking, you come back, your campsite's been disturbed by something. Yeah, it could have been bears. It could have been some other animal, but look for those footprints. You know, start looking around a little bit. And, well, you know, anytime your campsite's been disturbed while you were gone, you need to realize you're not alone. But
that's
yeah,
very true.
Next thing is look for those footprints.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because last year when we were out at our investigative area, we were gone from base camp for 20 minutes. And when we came back, there were a footprint in front of our tent.
Oh, incredible. Did you have any plaster with you?
Our ground here is so hard, you cannot cast.
Okay. What about a camera?
Oh, we got camera on it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we got a camera on it.
Good. I would also suggest maybe putting a ruler next to it to give it some perspective.
Oh, yes. Got to have that. Got to have the ruler. That is 100% for sure. I carry a tape measure with me.
Sure. Whatever works.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever works. But that is that's fascinating. Yeah. Something's out there.
We got 2 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Chris Lee is our guest tonight. We're talking Sasquatch. In the next half hour, Chris, we are going to get to a few audience questions that we have for you tonight. But just your overall thoughts. Is it going to be tougher to try and prove Sasquatch with all of these AI videos that are coming out now? What's your thoughts?
Oh, I really wish people wouldn't try to send in fake videos. I think there is something out there, and we need to look at credible evidence. And I think we got a lot of people out there just trying to get attention. It started with people with big wooden footprints, leaving footprints everywhere as a joke. And now with the technology, it's advanced into that. I would encourage people not to do that. Whatever's turned in, let's let it be authentic.
Yeah, I love AI. I'm really falling in love with AI. I really am. But I think when it comes to cryptids, UFOs, ghosts, the subjects that we love, we have created a monster, pun intended, that is not going to propel the field further. In fact, I think it's going to regress the field in what we do. And this is where I also think more eyewitness testimony is going to become very, very interesting and more important than it's been in years since before the social media revolution.
Sure.
That's what I think. I'm going to get you to hold on because we are going to go to break here in just a few seconds time here. Chris Lee is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. It's having a great time talking Bigfoot with him. Anytime you get to talk Bigfoot or any sort of cryptid, it just sets the tone for a good night. And that's what we're doing. This is why we have fun talking these subjects. I hope you are enjoying this as well. We're going to get to some audience questions from our chat rooms right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio. The second half is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Oh, Deb, you make me laugh. For the record, Deb, in my Jeep, I always have toilet paper, and I've always got wet wipes. Always. You have to.
Yeah, me too.
You know, it's funny because before I moved up here a decade ago, I was so not Mr. Forrest. You know, I didn't own a gun. I'd never really shot one. I had you know, no concept. Like if I went out to the wilderness, it was going into populated areas where people already were.
Sure.
Excuse me. And so when I moved up here and started going into the forest with my newfound friends, it was like, I have no clue. I have zero survival skills. If the world were to end tomorrow, I could not survive. And that's when I started learning about it.
Sure. There are ways.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I keep provisions in my trunk. You have to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my Jeep is full. You know, and it's weird because every year I think of things that I don't have. You know, that, you know, I'm thinking about it the other day. Like, I don't even have a blanket in my Jeep. Like, why do I not have a blanket? I should have a blanket. Right?
Sure. I have an insulated hunting suit. It would be like wearing a sleeping bag.
Oh, that's nice.
And of course, in Alabama, I don't need that year round, but there are just a few months, like in December, January, February, it might be good to have that in the trunk. You just never know.
Right.
But not during the summer. You sure don't need it in the summer around here.
Yeah, summertime here is pretty good.
Yeah.
It gets pretty hot, but
we hit 100 degrees somewhere in April, and it stays that way. Could stay that way into October, possibly November.
yeah, we don't get that hot. We don't get that hot.
Yeah.
What's the temperature here right now? Hold on. Right now, it is 0 Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit, and snowing.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. It's supposed to snow tonight, tomorrow, Monday, a little bit on Tuesday, and then more on Friday.
We see snow here maybe once every 3 or 4 years, I think.
Well, I get it for 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it when it's like this, even when it's a little bit colder.
Sure.
But when it starts to get to that minus 25 to 40 Celsius,
sure,
that's where it starts to hurt. I don't like that.
Sure.
You know, I can I can handle minus 27, 28, but anything after minus 27, 28, it starts to get painful.
Sure, that can be dangerous.
Oh yeah. It feels good in the lungs though, man.
Yeah.
Like when you're breathing in that cold air, oh, does it feel good?
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I grew up in North Carolina where it got a little, it got colder than it does here. Up there, we had actual seasons. Around here, it's just hot and cold. But what I liked about North Carolina, I lived in Charlotte, we had actual seasons.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get all 4 seasons here.
Yeah. I love Alabama, but North Carolina just had a mystique to it, especially the mountains And
Yeah.
anytime there was a trip to go to the mountains with my friends, my family, my church, I was there. I love the mountains of North Carolina.
We have about 30 seconds left. Big thank you to Deborah Rooney ×2, Noble Patrick, Cat Chaser, Shelley, Von Patrick, and Candace for the super chats. Tickets for Caribou Con 2026 are now underway. Be a part of the inaugural event. Go to cariboucon.com. Get your VIP tickets today. We got a lot of great speakers coming up here for that. You're going to want to be a part of it. It's going to be highly interactive and a lot of fun. So go cariboucon.com. Go get your VIP tickets today. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in as we continue the conversation about Sasquatch down in Alabama. Chris Lee is our guest tonight on the show. We're having a lot of fun with him. Want to remind all of you that if you've been listening in and wonder where can you find the show afterwards, well, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Chris Lee is here. You can find his books about Bigfoot and other great topics on Amazon. We're talking Bigfoot tonight. Chris, thank you so much for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I love it.
I'm glad you're having fun, man.
Sure.
It always makes it better when the guest is having fun. So thank you for doing that. Let's get to an audience question right off the bat here. Let's go to Shelley. Do you think the only reason we can't get confirmation of existence is because the entire economy would collapse? Forestry, tourism, hunting, fishing, like the owl drama we had a while back. That happened in Oregon.
Sure. Grover Krantz made that point. You have to consider that if we are able to prove the existence of a North American ape, there's going to be thousands of square miles of forest land that will be declared a natural habitat for an endangered species. And yeah, that would have an impact on things. So yeah, you have to consider that. You know?
I think that's a topic that is not discussed enough. We've discussed it here, but I think it's a topic that really isn't discussed enough, because what people don't realize is when they find it in what they would consider an endangered species or a brand new species, they shut down that area to everything.
Sure.
You can't go for your hike. You can't take your dog for a walk. You can't go geocaching. You can't camp, fish, hunt. You can't log there. And there are loggers out there that have millions of dollars invested in these lands to log. And if all of a sudden there's a new species or a protected species that's been seen in that area, they shut it down.
Sure.
And then they put it into an environmental study that could take years.
Yes.
And those people who have invested their money, the time, maybe they have a cabin in the area or whatever it may be, they are out of luck.
Yeah.
They just can't go do their thing, especially if you're running some sort of tourism or logging / mining corporation.
Absolutely. That is something to consider. You know, I don't know that, you know, you have to think about that. So I really, it's hard to say completely how the world would be impacted if we were able to finally definitively prove that these creatures exist. But that is something to consider.
Well, it also adds the question, and I apologize for cutting you off there, but it also adds the question, do you think they want to prove the existence?
It's It's hard to say. It's a lot of speculation right now. It's we're trying to, decide how exactly the world would be affected, how a lot of people would be affected if we did prove this creature existed. Can we prove definitively that this creature exists? I'm beginning to wonder if we can. I tell you something that really is beginning to concern me. I'm thinking this relic population may be dying off. I think before we can discover that they're out there and study them and see if there's anything we can do to help them, they may eventually become extinct. And I'm concerned about that.
I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you on that. Let's go to another question here. Let's go to Applesauce. If Bigfoot was a ghost, do you think she would look like a Wendigo?
I am familiar with the Wendigo legend. I don't know how we would research that one. Possibly.
Where do you take a stand on all the other cryptid creatures that are out there?
Okay, well, there's a lot of them to look at. The other one that's fascinated me over the years is the Loch Ness Monster. The loch is not a landlocked lake. It does open up to the North Sea, and it is possible. So if Loch Ness Monster exists, I believe it's a bottom dweller, possibly a giant eel, or something of that nature. It's a bottom dweller that rarely comes to the surface, but the jury's still out on that one as well. I've never been to that part of the world, but I do have friends who have gone to Scotland, and they have been around that area, and they tell me that the locals will swear that it is true and that they've seen it, that they've seen something. But again, it goes back to we want to believe that there is some part of this world that we haven't completely discovered. Now, a new cryptid that I've started hearing about here in Alabama is the Alabama white thing. Have you heard about that?
No, fill me in. I love this new stuff.
Okay. Well, it's pronounced Alabama white thing, not thing. Thing. It's Thang. And the sightings have been up in North Alabama. There is an Alabama white thing Facebook page, and it's supposedly a creature with white fur that is very ferocious. And when I wrote my book before last, The Night People, I decided it's time for this creature to become famous because there hasn't been a lot said about it. So there is an example of the Alabama white thing in that story when you read it. But right now, again, you have to look at these with a very practical mindset at first. You have to eliminate all logical possibilities first. I'm wondering if it's a diseased bear or a diseased bobcat, something like that. In other words, a predatory animal with mange, because when all the hair falls out and their skin is just burning, itching, I feel horrible for those creatures. There's no way for them to get treatment. They can't be taken to a vet. They just, they're running around, with this horrible itch, burning, and all over their skin. Of course, they're going to act crazy, So you have to eliminate that possibility. But there is more and more stories that it could possibly be something else. So jury's still out on that one. I think with cryptids like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, would give them more credibility in my mind would be the hundreds of years of anecdotal qualitative data that we have from numerous people over numerous centuries. Alabama white thing is something that's relatively new, but I think something to keep on the radar.
Do you think it could be some sort of albino type species of the creature?
Maybe. That's a possibility. You know, I mean, it happens in other animals in the animal kingdom. A Sasquatch that's an albino, that is theoretically possible as well.
Yeah, I often wonder that. Like, I know in British Columbia here, the spirit bear is very highly honored and protected species. There's only one area of British Columbia and the world where these bears live, and that's on the BC coast. Probably a couple 100 miles from where I am right now. Yeah. But there's also what they call the spirit moose, which is albino moose that are illegal to hunt because they're so rare and steeped in First Nation tradition and legend. Yes. So I'm wondering if these type of creatures like Sasquatch, is a good friend of this show, Jessica Jones, we call her the cryptid huntress. She says the Alabama white thang is a large hulking Bigfoot type creature that has been reported throughout Alabama since the early 1900s. Residents describe it as being around 7 feet tall, monstrous looking, and covered in white hair like an albino Bigfoot. In 1971, numerous reports of the Alabama white thang were reported around Huntsville, and reports continue to this day.
Sure.
That's just wild.
Sure. Now, when I say it's a relatively new thing, the legends hitting the mainstream is a relatively new thing. But the stories have been floating around up there for a while now. As a kid, I lived in North Alabama, went hiking a lot in North Alabama, and camped up there in a few places, and it never came up, but we never saw any evidence of it. But even living in Alabama all the years that I have, I've only recently started hearing about it, So, but yeah, supposedly there have been sightings going way back. Now, there's another reason why it might not have hit mainstream until recently. We are better informed now with the internet and social media and that kind of stuff. But a lot of times locals don't want to talk. And that's true also with Bigfoot. They may know it's there. They may know something is there, but they don't talk about it with outsiders for various reasons.
Yeah, we have that happen here with not only the First Nations, but a lot of loggers as well.
Yes.
For the loggers, they are more scared that this may cost them a logging job.
Yes. Well, that's the first thing people think, something's wrong with you if you think you have seen a mythical creature, but the other thing is I'd be nervous about outsiders coming in and interfering with what I'm trying to do, whether it's logging or something else. I want to be left alone to do my job. Okay. And I don't want to have to deal with a bunch of outsiders coming in and possibly getting me hurt, getting themselves hurt. A lot of times with Sasquatch stories, with stories of cryptids in general and ghosts, people tend to kind of keep that to themselves a lot of times. And I can see why.
100%. 100%. Let's get to another audience question. Let's go to Adrian here. When comparing hair samples to Sasquatch, what do you think comes closer, ape or human?
Okay. With hair samples, I think I have read on that some. Sometimes they find hair samples of apes of unknown origin. Now, sometimes when the researchers get these hair samples for DNA analysis, boom, right off, they can figure out what it is, bears, human, no problem. But that's another thing that really makes you wonder. Sometimes they'll get a hair sample that it's an ape of unknown origin, and that leaves it open to speculation. So could be further proof.
Yeah, it's a difficult subject. I'm trying to find that proof. That is absolutely for sure. Let's go to Jules here. What's your thoughts on Dogman?
Dogman, you talking about the Michigan Dogman?
Yeah, apparently he's been seen all over.
Okay. Well, funny you should ask. In my book, The Night People, there's an example of the Michigan Dogman. And I'll just let people read it. Again, you have to eliminate all of the logical explanations. You have to take a look at that first. Sometimes bears can stand up on their hind legs. They've been known to do that. Could be a diseased bear with with mange, all the hair fell out. And when that happens, bears do tend to look eerily human-like in their body, that could be one explanation for it. Or, there could be they're saying a Sasquatch, we don't know. That's a good question. Or it might be a new species, time will tell.
I wonder about it. And what's funny is in the last couple of weeks, I've heard more people talking about werewolf sightings and werewolf people having interactions with werewolves all of a sudden. Like, I don't know where this is picking up or why it's even picking up.
Yeah.
Even like north of me, I have a friend of mine who investigates the paranormal up there. And she was telling me that in her place where she's investigated for years, all of a sudden people have had a pair of werewolf sightings. People are hearing howls coming out of there. Now, is it possible that it's a wolf or a wolf pack? Yeah, but if it's maybe a singular wolf, sure. But apparently people have seen this dogman werewolf-like creature in that area. It's creepy.
Interesting. I hope it's not somebody in a suit. They're taking their lives in their own hands.
Well, especially right now because it's hunting season and it's in the wilderness.
Yes.
Right.
Well, way out away from where a lot of people go, anything could be possible at this point. It deserves further research. But as far as shape shifting, I think I see the comment there. That's not something that I would believe in personally. People have their different opinions. I respect that, but shape shifting, no, it's not something that I believe in. As far as a relic creature or a misidentified creature that we know about, I think that would be a more plausible theory.
We have 5.5 minutes to go with you tonight. Chris Lee is our guest, talking Bigfoot of Alabama. Let's go to Pilgrim here. Chris, do you think Bigfoot and werewolf could be related? I'm finding where the werewolf are hard-ranking Satanists that transform. Well, I wouldn't take it that far, but you know, to each their own.
Yeah, to each their own. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I'm an evangelical Christian, and I don't believe that shape-shifting is a thing. I would tend to think that it is either a misidentified creature or possibly something new. To me, this is not fantasy. I don't believe my books are fantasy. They are science fiction. This is biological, speculative, biological science fiction. That's what I do, you know.
All right, let's move on to Deb here. Could you talk about any cryptid? Which one and why? Outside of Bigfoot, that is.
Outside of Bigfoot, I've been fascinated by the Loch Ness Monster for years. I think there is something in that loch that deserves further study. I am fascinated by the Florida skunk ape. That could be a relic population of Bigfoots down there. I've got several cryptids in my book, The Night People. It's actually a cryptid zoo. You will be taken, if you read that book, you'll be taken through a paranormal cryptid zoo with all kinds of creatures. I'm especially fascinated by the Mokele Mobembe legend over in Africa, that there could be some sort of relic dinosaur living over there. And it's possible, you know. So, and that's another thing that I hope, as I was discovering Bigfoot as a kid, there were reports of a possible brontosaurus type creature living in that area of the world. And I was hoping that more would be said about it. And then suddenly nothing more was said. But, a relic dinosaur that still exists, I think that would just be fascinating.
What do you love to write about?
When it comes to fantasy, I love writing about cryptids and the way people react to it. But I also throw in a lot of human emotion into my stories, and I put it in the context of the American South. When you read my books, you'll read about cryptids, sure, but you will also read about Southern people and the way they react to things sometimes. I love doing that. I've lived that.
As you delve more into the Bigfoot world, do you think there is going to be an interconnection with other creatures, whether it's other cryptids, whether it's paranormal or UFOs?
I don't know about UFOs. That remains to be seen. But I think proving an existence of Bigfoot could definitely explain other cryptid creatures. My thoughts about UFOs, I think that's potentially experimental secret aircraft that we don't know about yet. The F-117, we saw it in 1989 and it looked so sleek and modern looking, but all throughout the 80s, people were reporting seeing these black triangles at night. And then we find out the F-117 took its first flight in 1979. So it's basically 70s technology. But if we had the F-117 in 1979, makes you wonder what's out there now. And I think that could explain a lot of UFO sightings. Again, I'm going to look at the most logical explanation first. But if we can discount that, then I'll go from there.
I would agree with you on that 100%. And, it's funny you bring up the F-117. A good friend of this show's legendary aviation historian, Jim Goodall, was the first civilian to actually take a picture of the F-117 Nighthawk.
Amazing.
20 seconds left. Do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
You can find them on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. They are under the name C. Lee because there's a lot of Christopher Lees out there, obviously. But they're under the name C. Lee. The first one is The Night People, a novel about the paranormal. The other one is The Night I Survived Bigfoot. It's a young adult novel, but adults will love it.
Chris Lee, everybody, thank you for coming on in. Chris, we appreciate it. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, Swamp Dweller. Then extra small Lee Strauss is here for the
You're
Q&A.
listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much. I hope
you.
you had some fun, my man.
I did. Thank you so much, Dave.
Absolutely. Not a problem. Stay in touch with us, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, you do the same.
Take care, my friend.
All right, you too.
All right. Chris Lee, everybody. Great guy. Absolutely great guy. Thank you. I'll be right back.
When Dave comes back, you guys need to ask him if he chewed his food. Everybody in chat needs to ask him repeatedly if he chewed his food. It's important to know this before we get going here tonight. I'm letting you know right now.
All right. I am back. Deboruni with a hat trick tonight. I did chew my food tonight. I did. Lee actually texted me tonight, and I said I was chewing my food. How you doing, buddy? You got your mic on mute. Still don't hear you. Hi, Paulie Rotterman. How you doing? Lee must have set this up. Everybody asking me if I've chewed my food.
Shit.
Now I got you, Lee.
Okay.
There you go. Now I got you. We got 35 seconds. Were you telling everybody in the chat room to ask if I chewed my food? You must have.
You know it. You know it.
Oh, Jesus. You're just a shyster. Contrary one, how you doing? Thank you to Deboruni with a hat trick, Shelly, Noble Patrick, Cat Chaser, Von Patrick, and Candace. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is Eldritch. Eldritch is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
It was 1942, and everyone was feeling the weight of World War II throughout the United States. Small towns were busy manufacturing all the weapons and supplies needed to aid the U.S. and its allies to victory. Pascagoula, Mississippi is a small but growing town built on the coast and was at the time the perfect place to build warships and the like. With all the open jobs in the area, the population began to boom and see lots of new faces and personalities come into town. Something truly strange and honestly kind of creepy began happening in the summer of 1942, though. On June 5th, 1942, an unknown assailant of the night cut a hole into a screen window at the Lady of Victory's Covenant. After climbing into the room via the window, the unknown man, who was short, slightly overweight, and wearing a white sweatshirt as described by the two girls he awoke in the room he had broken into. Oddly, though, the only thing reported to have happened by the girls was that they were both missing a single lock of hair. Now, most people would assume one would break into somewhere with intentions of robbing valuables, murder, or possibly even more sinister acts. But this guy just wanted hair. Only a few days later, on the following Monday, this unknown barber struck again. Once again, he had cut open a hole in a screen window. He snuck into the room and found 6-year-old Carol Piatti sleeping next to her twin brother. He cut her hair and left the scene, but this time he had left a single bare footprint. Now, this case for some reason just freaks me out a bit. It gives me shivers to think that someone could break into your home, wander around the place you feel safe, and potentially do anything they want to you as you're defensively sleeping. It doesn't make me feel any better that this guy also wants to mess up my sick hairdo. It is speculated, but not proven, that the same guy from the previous cases also attacked a sleeping couple. He snuck in through a screen he had slit. Typical behavior by the assailant so far. Neither person was killed, but this time, no hair was taken. He also had attacked another victim by using chloroform allegedly, but again, this is just speculation amongst the locals. After this though, a local 57-year-old chemist, William Dolan, was arrested and charged with the crime against the sleeping couple who were attacked. This leads many to think that the Phantom Barber was him, simply because of the way he entered the home. Seeing as the Phantom Barber was pretty popular in the local news at the time, it could be that he was copying the crime to try to throw people off his own trail of crime. Either way, the Phantom Barber has never officially been caught and seemingly skipped town after the news of William Dolan being arrested. Maybe the Phantom Barber was William Dolan, or maybe the cops just wanted to pin the case on someone and call this a case closed. Perhaps we'll never know.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, hit subscribe, ring that bell on Swamp Dweller's channel. Thousands of stories there for you to listen to each and every night. Speaking of great stories, it's time for Lee Strauss from Element 115 on our YouTube channel. Here's the Q&A.
They call him extra small, but he's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call? He's the legend of Element 115. Here on Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
Lee Strauss, it's always good to have you back on the show. How you doing, my buddy?
Man, I am good, and I'm just happy to be here with you, bud.
Oh, that is so kind. So kind. You know, there's a couple things we want to go over here, and normally I keep the business side off of the radio show, but I need to talk about this, especially with our social media audience. For some reason, I was looking at the statistics on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And we are what you call on YouTube shadow banned.
Yes.
I've been looking at the statistics, and our numbers over the last 6 months in viewership and everything has declined really, really poorly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think it's for the quality of shows or the guests that we have. And so we are now in a major investigation as to why our YouTube channel is being hit. And thanks to AI, we're able to actually go in and take a serious look at this, of what is actually causing this. And there's a couple of things that we need to do differently, and we need to do better. We need to make shorter videos out of our interviews in order to do that. And I know I've been saying that for a long time, but that takes time. It takes a lot of time to do, especially when you're a skeleton crew like we are.
Mm-hmm.
But it also we need the help of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening in on terrestrial radio and you haven't subscribed to our channel, hit subscribe, ring that bell. And this is why we also ask everybody, do us a favor. If you're listening in on social media, especially YouTube, do us a favor. Give us that thumbs up. Give us a comment after the show. Make it a lot more interactive, because audience participation within the channel is one of the big things that actually helps get you out of that shadow banning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we haven't hit any controversial subjects. We don't have any copyright strikes against us. We haven't had anything that would actually damage our channel, because we do the same thing each and every night. What you hear on terrestrial radio is what you're hearing on our YouTube channel. But for some reason, YouTube is nailing us right now on the channel. Like, give you an example. We usually average, okay, if we went back 6 months, 8 months ago, we were averaging close to 40,000 hours of watch time by our listeners. I checked the stats yesterday, and we were below 18,000.
Wow.
That is a huge decrease. 22,000 watch hours that are not being completed by our listenership. Yet our membership keeps growing, not as much as it was because we are shadow banned. We were averaging 200 to 300 new subscribers a month. That may not sound like a lot to when you look at YouTube and you see all these massive channels, but to us, that was a steady growth. Last month, we had 97. So I don't think it's the programming. Maybe that's ego talking. But I know our radio stations are absolutely loving our programming. But for some reason, social media, especially YouTube, is not. So we need the help of the audience, radio land, social media land, to absolutely, go out there and give us an opportunity to hit subscribe, ring that bell. If you're a fan of this show, it's something that we need, like when we say, or you see somebody like our mods in our YouTube channel, they're always very much, hey, make sure you give a thumbs up. We average about 130 thumbs up per night on average. That's now we're struggling to get 100. So we're consistent. The one thing that I will defend this show and our programming is we're consistent. We always have programming. We just don't let anybody on the air to go haywire. We don't bring in a lot of deep, dark conspiracy theorists that want to talk adrenochrome, the reptilian royal family and garbage like that. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about a lot of the deep conspiracy theories that are out there that could get you in trouble because there isn't a lot of proof. And if somebody says they have proof, it's usually a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of an uncle who works at an agency who has a friend in another agency. So I don't know what's going on with our YouTube channel right now. We're trying to figure it out. But as an audience, you can help us out by doing a few things. Promoting the channel on your own social media. Okay. I know a bunch of you out there listen to a bunch of different channels. Bring the audience over. Let's show them what we got if they've never been here before. Give a thumbs up or down, whatever you feel we deserve. Comment after the show. And ring the bell. When you hit subscribe, ring the bell so you get the notifications. And for those who are loyalists, make sure you go into your YouTube or into our YouTube channel and make sure that YouTube hasn't turned off your notifications, because YouTube does have a habit of doing things like that. Let's say you go on a vacation or your work shift changes and you're now not at the show live anymore, they will turn off your bell. And sometimes when they do a big retrofit of what they're doing behind the scenes, like recently, YouTube has changed everybody's names and put all these numbers and codes on the back of them. When they do that, you have to go back and check it and make sure. So we're asking for the audience's help here a little bit, because I think our channel, realistically, and there will be people who gripe about what I'm about to say. Frankly, everybody's got their critics, so I'm not too worried about it. But I'm really surprised our YouTube channel, with the excellent programming that we do, the knowledge that we have, and it's not just my show, it's Lee's show, Element 115. It's Rob's show on the weekend and after hours. It's Lee, your show with Grant, UFO Max. I think we got excellent programming, that a little bit for everybody. And I'm really surprised that we aren't at 100,000 plus on our YouTube channel for the amount of hard work that we do for people each and every night. That's just my opinion. Maybe it's ego talking, could be, but we're looking into trying to figure out what's going on.
Dave, you started this channel many years ago.
8 years ago today.
Yeah. So back then with YouTube, the ufology, whole UFO and alien thing was kind of kept down a little bit more than it is today. I believe that you were probably shadow banned way back then. And as the time has gone on, there's become a lot more channels that talk about similar things. So whatever happened way back when kind of compounded now. And you see a lot of these channels now that are getting so much attention, a lot of attention, but you're kind of like one of the originators. You have a voice for radio. You know how to talk to people. You're very engaging. I've listened to you way before I even started coming on here, on Spaced Out Radio, years before. So I know. And I think what has happened over time is you've got this flood of new people. Well, they weren't shadow banned and they're not now, but because we were early on, or because you were early on, that's kind of compounded. And the fact that you've got so many more channels opening up these days, that's where the attention lies.
Could be. Could very well be. I'm actually going to take an opportunity, hopefully in this coming week, to try and get a hold of somebody at YouTube to say, hey, can you tell us what's going on here?
I'm sure we've got people, you've got all kinds of listeners. I'm sure somebody has the inside scoop somewhere. We can get some information.
Yeah, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. It works.
It's something in the algorithm.
I want to show you something. Now, our radio audience won't be able to see it. We had this conversation right off the hop of the show with our guest, Chris Lee. And I'll reiterate the story here. So we got about 6 minutes to go. Friend of mine, Jim, I saw him today and he's like, hey, did you ever get the pictures that I sent you? And I'm like, no. What pictures? So he resent them to me on text message today. Jim's a logger. He drives a logging truck, gets off work at 3:00 in the afternoon, works or gets to work at about 3:00 in the morning. So the first thing, you work in construction, the first thing that you do is you check your gear to make sure everything is safe and sound for the day ahead. It's not just about making sure you have enough nails in your pouch and a hammer on your tool belt. It's a little bit more than that when you're dealing with bigger equipment. You want to make sure that everything is working properly. So Jim, a couple weeks ago, was checking his big rig, about to check the oil to make sure that everything is working a-okay. Now it's, once again, in the forest, 3:00 in the morning, and he finds a handprint on his truck. Now, radio audience, you won't be able to see this. You'll have to go onto our YouTube channel to see it. But on this piece of equipment on his truck, there is a white sticker on some dirty red metal. And that white sticker is about the size of an iPhone. Now, you see this giant handprint going down, like something was like pushing down on it. You can see the thumb. You could see that it is opposable to 4 other fingers. Lee, what's your thoughts?
Well, you see where it splays out at the very end, where it goes in both different directions there. I'm counting 6 fingers there, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I'm only counting 5.
Well, you've got the 2 at the very bottom that are going left and right, and then you've got the 4 towards the top.
That would be a palm print. That would be covering up the edge of the palm, and then the palm would still be dirty.
But I'm still seeing.
How do you see 6 fingers on that?
Well, if you look towards the part that goes back, you see 2 what looks like fingers. Now, that could be a very loose jacket at the cuff, possibly, that's making those prints right there.
The problem is those fingers are about 4 or 5 inches long.
Okay.
If you
my friend,
if you use the sticker, the white sticker on it, okay, as say the size of an iPhone, the truck is in the middle parked in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
You have the pinky finger that overlaps onto the sticker. You have the ring finger and the middle finger that are kind of together sliding down. You have the pointer finger.
Yep.
And then it goes into the crescent circle there where the thumb would be. And that's the handprint kind of leaning down on it.
Yes. But I'm seeing that other mark as well.
Up above?
That also kind of looks
That would be the outside of the hand.
So what you're telling me is almost as if it's, well, what hand is that?
It's a right
hand.
hand.
That doesn't make sense.
It's a right hand.
Okay. So if I'm viewing it like you're viewing it right now, it's almost as if something was above and came down and pushed down on it. Because there's no way to access this piece of equipment, as far as from what I can tell by looking at the picture, like something came to the left side of it. They had to come down off the right side and push down on that location.
Well, knowing Jim, he would know. I mean, truckers know their trucks better than anybody, especially, ones who are in the logging operation. Actually, I think any trucker knows their truck better than anybody.
Yeah.
He said when he left work, there was nothing on the truck.
Okay.
And when he got back at 3:00 in the morning at the job site in the forest, that handprint was now there.
Yeah, something climbed on that truck. Something was up on top of it, on the back side of the truck. Now, it almost looks like that might be a side dump truck, instead of a truck and trailer, just by the configuration that I'm looking at right now.
I'll have to get him to send some more photos. I'd like to see some wider range external photos. So we're gonna see how that works out.
Well, something was definitely on his truck climbing around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you've been out here, Lee. You know how big things are around here.
Yes, sir. I do. Yeah, there's some big stuff out there. Some old growth, and just, the pictures that you shared with me of that big cougar. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, I agree with that one. That was kind of cool. Lee, hold on. We're halfway through the Q&A with Lee Strauss here on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, we'll take some audience questions and we'll get into some stories of the week. We'll be right back.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
So what's your plans for this weekend, brother?
Well, my friend, I'm probably going to be cleaning up around here a little bit. I got some straightening up to do. As
Are
my
you on your
girlfriend-
proper microphone or are you on your camera phone or camera microphone?
Let me check right. Oh, does this sound better?
Sounds the same.
How's that sound, Dave?
Still sounds the same.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. You cannot hear me now. Look how serious Lee Strauss is. See if we can get him to stroke his beard while he's in deep thought. Oh, look at that. Look at that. You got 4 minutes to figure it out, man. Can't hear you. Look at him. He's positioned himself just like that so he can flex his arms so everybody can see how good a shape his arms are in. You dirty bastard. Can't hear you. Is your microphone on?
How about now?
Yeah, now you're better. Talk.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Way more beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what goes on with this thing. If I let it sit inactive for a while, it kind of gets funny.
I'd like to actually see your system one day. We'll do that off the air. I'd like
Well,
to see.
wait a minute now.
No, but I guess I walked into that one. But that's one of those Yeti mics, right?
Yeah. You know, ever since I changed things around a little bit in here, it's been kind of finicky. It goes off and on and disconnects and weird stuff like that. I don't get it, but whatever. And it's odd because it doesn't have it. It's like every hour or something like that. If I just leave things running, it'll disconnect.
Right.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Now you won't sound like you're in the bathroom.
By the way, I'm not going to be around next weekend.
Okay. Where are you going? You going to Cali?
Oh, no. Callie's coming up here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so basically you're spending all week making sure your play selection on your phone is Barry White.
Well, that I didn't think about that, but now since you've mentioned it,
yes.
Maybe. No, we're having an early Thanksgiving and we're taking my mother out for dinner next Friday. So
Oh, nice. That sounds like a wonderful night.
yeah.
Well, say hi to Tammy for us. Is Tammy listening right now?
She might be asleep, but she was at one point.
The unknown. There's nothing wrong with Barry White. Barry White is the music of love, making sweet love.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Just ask Deborah Rooney. She'll know all about it. Break it down in the chat room for us, Deb.
God, we have fun.
Mhm.
Even you guys have no idea. You everybody in chat and listening right now, you don't know what kind of fun we have when we're not on the radio.
Oh, man. The only time we're not having fun is when we actually investigate. Then it's like game on. And then we take a break and then it's fun. And then we get back at it like half an hour later and it's game on. It's all fun. All right. Thank you to Deborah Rooney with a hat trick, Cat Chaser, Von Patrick, Candace, and Shelly for the super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. CaribouCon.com. If you want to see Lee Strauss speak and Skywatch and many more great people, go to CaribouCon.com. Get your VIP tickets. They are on sale right now. They make great Christmas presents. Here we go, everybody. We got 30 minutes left on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Lee Strauss is here for the Q&A, and we love the fact that you are taking the time to tune us on in, especially on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Hey, we want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free. Where are they? YouTube, any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Lee Strauss is here from Element 115 on our YouTube channel. He hosts a cryptid, paranormal, UFO talk show for about an hour, and he does a great job. And every night or once a week, he comes on in and shares the stories around with us. How you doing, bud?
Man, it's awesome. What's been going on lately out there with it doesn't matter if it's the Three-Eye Atlas or what's going on, in Congress. It's just, there's a lot happening. It seems like we're getting to a fever pitch. That's for sure.
I'm going to let you pick the topic. It's always me.
Ooh.
I'm going to let you pick the topic.
Well, we should probably talk about the Three-Eye Atlas a little bit because, I know more about that than anything else.
Let's go for it. Is it an alien craft?
Well, sir, I don't think so. Not anymore. There are a lot of people that say that it's actually breaking apart, and that's why you see the different jets that are coming off of this object. If you think about a space faring rock, I don't know what you want to call it. It's an asteroid. It's a comet. It's all of the above, but it's not just one thing. It's kind of like a conglomerate. If you were to take a snowball and out in your yard and you were making it and you've got leaves and gravel and grass and all of that stuff mashed up into a snowball, it's going to become a conglomerate of things, right? So that's basically what I believe we have out there going on. And you've got these gaseous jets coming off of that ice that's around that thing. And of course, you've got things like nickel and this and that and other chemicals and isotopes and God knows what else, all stuck together. And so when it rotates and the sun, shines on those parts of the object that are ice, it's going to start to off gas. And that's why you get that, the heating and the cooling as it's rotating through space and that sort of thing. I do believe, however, that object within the ice itself could harbor dormant life. And when you think of panspermia and the possibility that it's off-gassing in our universe, and we could get some serious types of microbes that come towards our planet and possibly enter our atmosphere and land on the planet? I think that's possible. So if you say that it's not alien life or it is, I mean, all of those possibilities are there, aren't they? You never know
Guaranteed.
what kind of.
You got to admit, though, there is a little bit of hope in each and every one of us that it is some sort of UFO craft.
Of course. I'm never going to deny that. I really want it to be. I want it to change course, and I want it to orbit Earth or another planet or something like that, and be what we all hope it is. Because NASA has not released the photos and the footage that they have, and you've got to ask yourself why. Anna Palunalina has asked them to release the footage, and they still have not. And they're saying that they're waiting. Well, the government shutdown is over. So where is that data? Where is it?
I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier this week where NASA always seems to shoot themselves in the foot. They are their own worst enemy when it comes to any subject. Okay. Their heyday was in the 80s and 90s with the shuttle program. Okay. Or I should say, leading up from Apollo on up to the end of the shuttle program. And since then, they have just run amok publicly, like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to find a new head on the ground to put on there, the body, so that way it looks normal again, and they can't find their head. Gross example, I know, but I'm going to use that example. I mean, you look at the denial of the UFOs, and yet NASA had already released so much information regarding astronauts talking about seeing lights in space, being followed, their rockets being followed. There's the famous X-15 expedition, the test jet, this hypersonic test jet, the X-15, that had to be launched from a B-52 bomber, okay, that reached up to Mach 7, I believe, okay, where it was at 315,000 feet, and the pilot is watching a UFO out his window, following his craft like it was nothing. Okay. All of that is released. Audio has been released. Transcripts of conversations have been released, and NASA continues to deny it. Okay. They've never talked about the wow signal for years publicly. And now they do that study, that $100,000 study, where you had a bunch of scientists just make fun of the UFO subject. You're supposed to be a leader. NASA is supposed to be a leader, and they're not. At least publicly, they're not. They can't seem to get their crap together. That's why they have to rely on Elon Musk. And then on top of it, like you said, right during the government shutdown, when 3-Eye Atlas was at its best chance for us to see it, they're like, oh, well, we don't have any pictures because the government shut down. You're telling me that you as scientists, where your job is to find things in space, that you're going to miss a moment like that because the government is on shutdown? The majority of people out there, I'm going to rant here for a second. The majority of people out there work hours upon hours a week of free overtime or volunteer to help out. Or some people work 2 jobs, maybe 3. And you're telling me that all of these science geeks who, and I mean that with all respect, okay, because I'm a paranormal geek, I'm a cryptid geek, I'm a UFO geek. But all of these science geeks whose job and dream is to find things in space that they're going to take the day off because the government is off. One of the biggest recent happenings in space history, an interstellar object. We have a chance to look at it, but I'm going to choose sweatpants and my lazy boy and reruns of How I Met Your Mother instead of being at work looking at this project. Come on.
Yeah, it's unrealistic. Of course they're there. They're watching it live. They probably have it streamed across, 15 big monitors on the wall, just like you would see in war games, right? I mean, come on. We know that they have whatever it is, but they don't want to release it. And what we'll probably see eventually when it does get released is a bunch of doctored stuff, right? But here's the thing. And they know it. And maybe that's why there's some rumors going around right now, Dave. We're going to be able to see it in December with our naked eye. If we got a clear sky, we're going to be able to see it. I think it's like December 21st. Somebody can check on that for me, but it's going to be at its closest point to Earth. And we've been told that we can see it with our naked eye. Now, there's a lot of people out there who've got decent telescopes are really going to be able to look at this thing and get really clear shots of it. And that's when things can kind of go sideways for them, right? Because the public's going to be involved. So we may be looking at something major coming down the pike here in December. And if that's the case, then all bets are off. The rumors that I have heard is that Mr. Trump could be coming out with some information about the validity of UFOs and aliens. But that's just a rumor.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if that's going to happen? I just know this. We're either on a very good trajectory, and I think it's good for the scientists to see how this anomalous action has been taking place, how much anomalous action has been taking place, because 3i Atlas has really changed the way physics is supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why Avi Loeb from Harvard stated the way it's moving, it may not be a comet. Even though he believes it's a comet, he was open-minded enough and got laughed at by his fellow astrophysicists, including publicly by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And yet here he is saying that, why rule it out? Why do we have to rule it out? And then NASA well, first off, let's remember, before NASA went dark on it, they also put up that stupid pixelation that looked like an Atari 2600 video game, saying, oh, look, this is a close-up of 3i Atlas in digital form.
Yeah.
A 3-year-old could have done better.
Yeah.
So the question is, if it's not a UFO, was there something tailing it?
It's just there's too many anomalies. There's just too many that we don't understand. We haven't seen very many interstellar objects, and this one is just way out of the norm for any comet that we have in our solar system. And right now it seems like we're grasping at straws to understand that what we're looking at. You think about how advanced we are right now with the technology we have and everything else. And we're still infants, even though we think that we got things figured out. We don't. There's so much that is just beyond our understanding. That's why we are here. That's why Dave does the show is because we're trying to understand the unknown. And it's so freaking interesting to so many of us. You know what I mean? It just is. And so it's the fight to understand what we don't know. And we want to comprehend, and we want to find the secrets to just about everything that we can. But that's what we're doing here with Three Eye Atlas, right? Is trying to understand what we don't know. And it's exciting. It's an exciting time. And I'm just glad to be alive and glad to be here talking about it right now.
Yeah, I love this subject. I do. You know, I'm the kind of guy, dude, where I am the furthest guy from understanding science. As a
Mhm.
journalist, I got to rely on everybody else. Okay, I do. But I can say this: Three Eye Atlas has acted very strange.
Mhm.
It's defied the laws of physics. It
Mhm.
seemed to defy the laws of gravity.
Yep.
It's made hairpin turns.
Yeah.
You know, like when it was heading for Earth, and all of a sudden decided to hang a left at Albuquerque and head towards Mars.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
because
it's
the
done
object.
things that we're not used to.
Yeah, we don't understand it, and it's an enigma, right? And maybe that'll help us in the future when something else comes into our solar system that we don't quite understand. Maybe that gives us some data, or maybe, like I was saying earlier, the fact that maybe this object is in the solar system because it was directed here. And it's possible it could be dropping microbes all over the place as it goes through interstellar space, seeding everything.
We have 5 minutes to go. Steve Bassett from the Paradigm Research Group was on recently, where he was all, in typical Steve Bassett mode. He was all proponent that disclosure is coming. It's right around the corner. We got big things happening within the next couple of months. Now, maybe I'm a little salty on the topic. I didn't believe him. But the one thing that I can say about Steve is his passion and his desire to have disclosure happen. There is nobody in this field who wants it more than him. He's dedicated 35 years of being an activist in Washington, D.C. about this subject. The only guy to take it on full time. And I'm still not believing that disclosure's around the corner, especially after, hearing the words of Carl Nell and many others who said, disclosure's dead. Like, we need to put this back under the rug. Let's get it back in the closet. Let's put it up in the garage on the top shelf where nobody will see it for another 20 years. Your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of news out there right now that's trying to distract from one story or another story. But I still think the biggest story out there is we're not alone. I'm sorry. That's just the biggest story. They've kept it secret for so freaking long. And it's known by so many of us. We know the truth that we're not alone. What the heck? How insane it is to me to keep it quiet. It doesn't make, when you get right down to it, Dave, it doesn't make sense to keep it quiet. The only reason that I can think possibly is that they want total control over the narrative, right? They want control over all of that so they can control us. But at the end of the day, we're going to know, and everybody's going to know. And I don't think we're long off from that knowledge. I think we're getting closer. The cracks are getting bigger. There just are. You can see it. And how many channels on YouTube are talking about this subject right now? Even news channels that would never talk about this subject are talking about it. I see it day after day on YouTube. It's out there, and it's becoming more relevant and more relevant.
I think the publicity aspect is great. And the fact that there are people within news media organizations that are forcing this topic on the public. And we don't like anything to be forced, but there's good forcing and there's bad forcing. This topic needed to be forced on the public, that it is a real deal. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not just a bunch of weird stories from people with bad dental plans wearing tinfoil hats saying the aliens came and got me. It's not like that anymore. We've opened the eyes to a lot of people in the public and the news media. And the good news for the news media, even Tucker Carlson said it publicly a couple of years ago. His ratings spike huge when he does a UFO show. They spike massively because people love this subject. They love talking about it. They love talking about their experiences. They love talking about the what if category. They love the fact that they get to talk about how they feel their government, whether it's the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, whoever, is hiding these secrets from them. Area 51 has multi-millions of dollars worth of tourism to communities around because of this subject. It is an economically impactful subject. Unless you're on the radio.
It seems like the case, that's for sure. I feel that some of the channels are definitely knocked down, but especially the ones that have been on longer, over time. And then some of the new stuff, of course, is just going gangbusters, but I don't really have an answer other than I think that it's possible, like I said before, that if you were bought into the subject, they kind of just put you down underneath everybody else. And that's part of the algorithm that's been there the whole time.
Very true. Lee Strauss, always a pleasure to have you, the extra small one from Element 115 on our YouTube channel. Every Friday night, 8 to 9 p.m. before this show, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocket in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocket us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Please remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Lee. Good job. Hold on. I got you on mute. Hold on. There you go. Good job, Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate that.
I just am here to bring people into the weekend.
You know what I want, Lee? You know what I want more than anything from you right now?
A hug.
Well, besides that, because I'll always accept your hug, brother. Okay. I want a picture of you and Silky Tammy. Okay. Give one of these to me because I know she wears ball caps too.
Yeah, she does. I got a video I could send you.
Yeah, I want to just a little, little tip of the cap from both of you. Just a photo. That's all I want.
Yeah. Well, we've got him. We'll get it. We'll get
All right,
it
brother.
to you.
I'll let you go get some sleep.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate you, Dave. It's so amazing to be able to come on this show, man. And over the years, listening to you, get in there and finish your show off. And it's always been, well, for the long time, it's been the same thing. And it's very nostalgic. Very nostalgic.
I like that.
For me.
Lee, you are a warrior and a trooper for us, my man. And I am a big fan of yours. I really am. And people, you don't, the majority of you don't know us behind the scenes. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Lee here is one of the classiest individuals you could ever meet. He really is. And you have no idea the honor it is to be able to call him a friend. It really is.
I feel the same way. I really do. Yeah. And it's so cool that I've got to meet people like Tim Mothman, in Reno. I just want to meet everybody. I want to meet Deb from SAC. I want to meet the Unknown and all these Fast Hemi. I mean, just everybody on here. It would be so cool if you guys can come up to British Columbia next year and hang out.
They're going to have 2 opportunities to meet up with us.
Yeah.
Vegas on my birthday weekend, May 21st to 25th. Okay. Yeah. And at the Caribou Con. Right?
Yep.
And look, my whole goal for the whole Caribou, not the Caribou Con, the Vegas thing, was to hang out with our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First year we had 62 listeners there.
Yeah.
Second year we had 47. Reno we had 12.
Wow.
And I realized that we shouldn't have moved it out of Reno. Reno, we shouldn't have moved it there. Although we stayed at a very nice hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not that our people don't want to come. It's a shitty economy right now.
Yeah.
It really is. Right? It really is. Which is why when we did the event last year, I took away the radio show. Because the radio side of it, because that cost me a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah.
$1,000 just for the room. That's if you're getting a discount. Okay. $1,000 for the room. Plus you have to pay for the internet. You have to pay for the electricians to come in and plug your cords into the walls. You are not allowed to do that. It's union rules there.
Wow.
Okay. Plus the catering that goes along with that. And in Reno, we had more special guests than we had listeners there.
Yeah.
And to be blunt, it made me look bad.
Yeah.
All these people like Jim Goodall bringing books and all the Les Velez and others, Melinda, Lorian, all coming to hang out with our listeners. And unfortunately, due to the economy and everything that goes along with it, people are tight right now. I don't blame the people.
Right.
But they couldn't afford to go. Right. So that's why last year we turned it into more of a, let's just hang out.
Mm-hmm.
We had about 8 listeners there. Right. And when we do it again coming up, hopefully we get some more.
Yeah.
Right.
At least we have that opportunity, and we're setting that out for the people. Right. So.
Because the one thing that I want everybody to know, okay, is if we wanted a private party, we wouldn't announce it.
Mm-hmm.
We want you guys there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's no fun for me to just go up to Dave's house and hang out in the sock drawer until he finds me. So
Truth.
It would be nice if we could get some more people coming.
Truth. Yeah, and then we chose the Mother's Day weekend too.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's why we're doing my birthday weekend. I want lots of our listeners for my birthday there. Even Fap Nuts can show up. Right?
Yeah. All right, my friend.
All right, brother.
I'm out for the night. Love you, man. I truly do.
Thank you tonight to Deborah Rooney with a hat trick, Noble Patrick, Shelley, Cat Chaser, Vaughn Patrick, and Candace with the super chats. We appreciate your love and support. We will see you on Monday. I don't know who my guest is yet. We'll figure that out. I'll let you know then. Check the website on Sunday when I update it, or the YouTube channel, because they get kind of updated at the same time. But we'll see you next week, everybody. Much love. Don't forget to leave a comment afterwards. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever you feel we deserve. And hit subscribe, ring that bell if you're new. Thank you, everybody. You take care. Much love. Have a great weekend.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.